The mysterious illness that struck Gurathin in the latest episode of Apple TV Plus' Murderbot has left fans buzzing with theories and speculation. As the tension-filled 7th episode unfolded, viewers watched with growing concern as the analytical team member became increasingly feverish, ultimately collapsing into a state that threatened his life. But what exactly caused this sudden medical emergency? Was it connected to the bizarre alien creatures that attached themselves to the Hopper? Or is there something more sinister at play, like deliberate poisoning from within the team or outside forces? Let's dive into all the evidence and explore the possibilities that could explain Gurathin's concerning condition. Early in the episode, we see Gurathin participating in the crew's drinking game, sharing stories with both sweet and bitter elements. His performance is particularly notable. He spins a tale about being a Corporation Rim spy, addicted to substances they provided, who was ultimately redeemed through his relationship with Dr. Mensah. While presented as fiction for the game, this moment raises interesting questions. Could this story contain elements of truth? If Gurathin actually was connected to Corporation Rim entities in the past, might there be lingering substances in his system that could be causing his current symptoms? The possibility of withdrawal from some unspecified Corporation Rim substance could explain his deteriorating condition, especially if separated from his supply. As we move through the episode, Murderbot observes that Gurathin's body temperature is spiking, the first clear indication something is wrong. Gurathin responds with sarcasm. "Oh, thank you so much for the concern." To which Murderbot clarifies it wasn't expressing concern, merely stating a fact. This exchange is telling. Gurathin is already feeling unwell enough to be defensive, yet isn't seeking immediate medical attention. This suggests the onset was gradual rather than sudden, which might point away from acute poisoning and towards something developing over time, like an infection. The most obvious potential source of Gurathin's illness are the alien creatures that land on the Hopper midway through the episode. These bizarre beings, described by the characters as different genders of the same species, engage in mating behavior on the exterior of the ship, leaving behind egg sacs afterward. Despite Murderbot's unspoken concerns, the team decides to leave the eggs alone for scientific observation. This decision comes back to haunt them when the creatures return and attack, creating a chaotic battle sequence. The timing between the alien encounter and Gurathin's collapse is highly suspicious, suggesting a potential causal relationship. Several mechanisms could explain an alien origin illness. Perhaps Gurathin was exposed to some biological material from the creatures during their first encounter or the subsequent attack. The egg sacs themselves could be releasing airborne spores or toxins that affected him more severely than others due to some personal vulnerability. We know from earlier episodes that Gurathin tends to be more physically vulnerable than some other team members, which might explain why he was the first to show symptoms if everyone was exposed to the same pathogen. What makes the alien theory particularly compelling is the visual progression of Gurathin's illness. By the episode's climax, he's described as burning up, a fever so severe that Pinley insists they must risk returning to their habitat for proper medical treatment, despite Murderbot's warnings about hostile forces. High fever is a classic response to foreign pathogens, as the body attempts to create an environment too hot for invading organisms to survive. If alien biological material entered his system, his immune response might be particularly aggressive since it would be encountering something completely unknown to human physiology. However, there's also the intriguing possibility of deliberate poisoning. The tensions within the team are palpable throughout the episode, with significant mistrust directed at Murderbot after it killed someone named Lee BB. Could Gurathin have been targeted specifically because of his outspoken suspicion of Murderbot? The transcript shows him openly questioning whether they can trust the SEC unit, suggesting they should potentially leave it behind. If Murderbot wanted to eliminate the most skeptical voice in the group, poisoning Gurathin would be a calculated move, though this seems somewhat out of character given what we know about Murderbot's protective instincts, despite its complaints about the humans. Another poisoning scenario could involve external hostile forces. We know from Murderbot's warnings that there are enemies in the vicinity. Perhaps during some off-screen moment, Gurathin was exposed to a toxin designed to force exactly the scenario that unfolds, compelling the team to return to the habitat where they could be ambushed. This would be a sophisticated trap, using the team's loyalty to each other, their refusal to abandon a sick colleague, as the mechanism for their capture or elimination. There's also a fascinating psychological dimension to consider. Throughout the episode, Gurathin appears mentally affected, not just physically ill. At one point, he bizarrely asks Mensa if she has feelings for Murderbot, showing confusion and possibly delirium. This mental deterioration could result from a neurotoxin, either alien or manufactured, rather than simply an infection. The sweating, fever, and mental confusion together point to something affecting both his neurological system and triggering an immune response. The question of Gurathin's mysterious illness becomes the central dilemma driving the episode's climactic decision. Mensa declares, "This is how we do it. We take care of each other," choosing to return to the habitat despite Murderbot's warnings about the dangers. This creates the powerful cliffhanger ending. Will the team's commitment to one another lead to their doom, or will their humanity prove to be their strength? Meanwhile, Murderbot's internal monologue reveals frustration at being seen as the bad guy, simply for prioritizing their survival over Gurathin's individual needs. What makes this storyline so compelling is how it highlights the fundamental philosophical differences between Murderbot and the humans. Murderbot operates on cold risk assessment and survival probability. In its calculation, risking everyone for one person is illogical. The humans, particularly Mensa, operate on a different value system where leaving someone behind is unacceptable regardless of the statistical dangers. This is not just a medical mystery, but a character study showing how different moral frameworks clash when lives are on the line. Looking ahead to the next episode, Gurathin's illness creates numerous storytelling possibilities. If the illness is alien-related, we might see the team racing to understand alien biology to create an antidote. If it's poisoning, we could discover a traitor in their midst or learn more about the hostile forces arrayed against them. Either way, the resolution of this medical mystery will likely reveal more about both the world of the show and the characters themselves. The evidence leans slightly more toward the alien origin theory, the timing of the illness coinciding with the alien creature's appearance, the classic infection symptoms including high fever, and the lack of obvious opportunity or motive for human-originated poisoning. However, in the complex world of Murderbot, nothing is ever simple, and the answer may combine elements from multiple theories or introduce entirely new complications we haven't yet considered. As fans wait for the next episode, Gurathin's fate hangs in the balance, along with the entire team's, now that they've chosen to return to dangerous territory to seek medical help for their colleague. Whether his illness proves to be an alien infection, deliberate sabotage, or something else entirely, it has successfully driven the narrative to a critical decision point that will test both Murderbot's capabilities and its evolving understanding of human relationships. The ultimate revelation about the cause of Gurathin's illness will likely provide not just medical answers but deeper insights into the show's central themes of trust, sacrifice, and the sometimes messy, irrational nature of human connection that continues to both frustrate and fascinate our reluctant SEC unit hero.